keep saying my 1800, won't you?
I actually understand that, so we're fine.
Yeah. Never got agenda.
I'll get you one. Let me get.
They sent the agenda weeks ago.
We are, okay. You can have my agenda, but don't write.
Oh, for Christ.
I
Okay,
keep forgetting to make a copy. All right,
okay, we'll have a roll call. Bob Harris, I'm here. Andrew, here.
I'm here.
Second,
yeah.
yes. Call Emerald.
And introduce
Yes.
Joan. Joan,
This is no show.
well, Chris Gordon is absent, Christine. But the others were all present.
Really?
Okay.
Okay,
I'm here, Bob.
you what?
I'm here.
That's it.
We marked it down.
I marked you. Yeah, I did. You're the second one on the list. Anyway, we're gonna start out with a review of the general election on November the 3rd, 2020. Oh, I'm sorry, new town,
Right,
town clerk. What about you?
yes.
Yeah, is
Newly
here
elected
today.
town clerk
Joan
Joan
Shabbat.
Shabbat,
Okay. Oh,
who's
that'd be great.
present, so she'll be able to hear your
Yeah, I got it written down
concerns
here.
with the last election and
Do we have any statistics comparing the last election?
You wait till we get down to all this, Deetta.
Oh, I thought we were on it. We're on the general elections.
Okay, it was a review of the general election.
Yeah, that's what I said.
What statistics of Tiverton or the whole state?
No, of what, how it compared to the last general election
For Tiverton or the whole state?
in Tiverton.
That I don't know.
we haven't really done comparison
No.
figures. We can do that, but I can tell you the turnout was higher, of course. The mail ballot process was tremendously increased. Actually, we even had a lot of provisional ballots due to the idea that they might have requested a mail ballot and not turned it in. So we actually even had a lot more provisional ballot. We will, I'll have Christine, can you get the numbers from the prior election to this election and send them out to the board, please?
Yes.
Christine will send those for you. It's a
I
good
think for the
question.
primary, I looked back for the primary, I think it was 13% participation. You think it was that high, Nancy?
Oh, this election?
Much higher.
Yeah,
Shire.
higher.
Yes.
Good.
Now, remember, in the primary, they didn't send out mail ballots to everybody,
I know.
but this one,
Started to
they
mark
did,
on that.
so that's all right.
Well, they sent out mail ballot out.
That's all right. She'll
Yeah.
set another one. Let me see, I'll go make a copy.
Yeah.
You write on it.
That's all right.
Started to.
Nancy, can you get a copy for me, please? Thank you. You don't have trouble with these calls there, Bobby.
I see somebody did. We'll be back just in a minute, dear. She gets you.
What's happening?
Huh?
Nancy's making us.
What's happening?
Here you go. I'm
just-
sorry, I went and make copies of the agenda.
Yeah.
Oh. She sent them out weeks ago.
Yeah, I know, but I should have copied some for him. Here you go, Andrea. Okay. And at the same time, I pulled out the folder on this so I can see. What's the summary?
Are we still talking about lessons learned?
Yes.
Okay, we
Go
decided
ahead,
that,
Luana.
we decided that maybe coffee and a clock for everybody wasn't the best use of our money. Because
Right.
at the end of the day, there was, well, of the 3 that hadn't even used it. What does everybody else?
I think if you did just coffee and
I
donuts,
agree, dear.
munchkins, you'd be fine. I think having donuts and munchkins and coffee is probably a little too much.
I didn't hear you, Andrea.
I said that I think, I think that if you have just the coffee and donuts or just the coffee and munchkins, that would be fine. I think having donuts and munchkins is too much.
We didn't seem to have those left over. We had coffee left over.
Yeah, and I think part of the issue this year also was that Michelle,
Michelle donated.
Oh, yeah, McGaw.
what was your last name?
McGaw.
McGaw.
Yeah.
She also brought in pastries and stuff
Forever
Mhm.
full.
for every poll. So I think we had an abundance of stuff.
Yeah.
And if we had too much coffee, see, I can't get less than one
Right.
box of Joe.
I think having too much coffee is better than not having enough coffee, because that is a long day.
Well, you know what we should do, though? We should check with the locations that are able to that have a coffee pot there.
True.
And it might, especially if it's a Keurig or something,
Yeah.
you might be able to just buy the pods and leave so many at each place, which would cut down on that box of Joe that didn't seem to get utilized. What polls were you at, Deetta, that you thought they weren't using it?
Well, I know for sure over at Ranger School, theirs was full. And I think over at Pecasset School too, right, Paul?
Yes,
See, Ranger has a kitchen right there.
Well, that's what I was thinking. Who has kitchens? Ranger has a kitchen.
Amicable has a kitchen.
Country View has a kitchen.
Forever makes all of that.
Yeah, so I think that's a good point, that next year or the next election, which would be the FTR in May, we should consider places that have kitchens. So
Mhm.
maybe Christine could check with them when she sends the request to use, oh no, we only use the high school for FTR.
Yeah.
So that's not gonna happen again for 2 years. But we should keep it in mind that if they have a kitchen,
We don't need.
Wait, the other thing to consider though with the Joe is that they give the sugar and the cream and the cups and all that kind of stuff. So it's kind of a slippery slope.
Well, we could probably work around that. I mean, if they had a Keurig type system, a box for $9 is gonna.
Yeah,
be
right,
used for
exactly.
2,
Right.
you know. And some places even provide it, like Amicable has always been very good. They
Yeah.
provide the coffee. I think
Right.
we oversighted that, and that's a good point, Deetta. Deetta,
Yeah.
Sorry. Only water.
oh, okay.
What time is it?
So, and as far as donuts, I think we might be able to just stick to munchkins and
Yeah, that's fine.
one or
Yeah.
the other, either the
Yeah.
dozen donuts or just, 50 munchkins or something. Because
Do we,
we don't usually get all that pastry sent in. I think this was Michelle's first year and because she did it to all 3 districts. I don't, you can't count on that happening again, but
do we have a total cost of the
minute.
election?
we should definitely limit, because remember, years ago, we had the Democrats and the Republican always contribute.
Yeah,
And
Yeah,
now they don't do that. So I think it's a good idea to limit the coffee and the donuts.
okay.
I still would offer them something. Because it's a long day. I'd still offer them something.
You
I'd
took
still
water,
say-
the guys took water around, right?
Yeah, we brought water to each one. And
So on to the next. Nancy, do we have a total cost of the election with all this new PPE stuff and more people?
well, remember a lot of the cost was those shields, face
Right.
shields. And we had the
20,000.
$6,000 grant to help cover that.
Okay,
So, but yes, we did have additional face masks and gloves and things like that, white stuff like that. So,
We had to hire extra to do the cleaning.
right.
Walk
Did
them
we
down
pay them?
and-
Christine, did we
Yeah.
pay?
Yeah,
Yes, I paid everyone.
yeah.
You paid everyone.
Everyone's
For
been
you,
paid.
Christine.
The town
We'd
did.
be waiting if it were me. Listen, when you say everyone, could you explain who you paid to, please?
Absolutely. So Amicable Church was $300, and Country View Estates, we gave 200. Sandy Wood Farms, we also gave 200. And the VFW was paid, they had requested 200 also.
Okay, and we don't pay the schools. But
No,
if the schools had asked for extra cleaning, we would have had to.
Yeah.
And I gotta tell you, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, that's $900, but I gotta tell you, some of these communities are paying,
Big bucks.
yeah, because we use private places. So, I mean, it's only right that we get it clean during COVID. Hopefully next election, we're not gonna need all this. And we were very lucky that most of the supplies we needed, like the stanchions and stuff like that, we already have that in stock because we buy little bits each election. So we were good. We spent nowhere near the amount of money I was worried that we were gonna be spending. So even on the FTR, I turned money back in to the council because those are restricted accounts. You can only use it
Yeah.
for that. And I want to say there's something like 60-some thousand left in that election account. So when it goes to the budget this year, we're not going to need as much money in. Because remember, we have no elections this year.
what do you mean
Unless
this,
something comes up for a special election.
you mean in 2020? One?
And in 2021,
Oh,
Yeah,
that has its own account though.
yeah.
okay.
But even the FTR was still got more than necessary in there. And we charge, now, remember, the staff in the clerk's office did a lot more of the work this year.
Yes,
And, but we charged some to that account for the overtime, but some of it was taken as comp time, things like that. So it worked out where there was a savings for us. We watched the money and we saved a little. We'll send out a report on the expenses.
2021, are we going to have one election in November though? Are we gonna use it up?
We only have elections biannually, every 2 years.
Okay.
Unless you had a special election or something. I haven't heard about the state and the bonds. I haven't heard anything about it. I would think these colleges need bonds. And roads and stuff like that. I haven't heard anything.
Now, I'd like to say something. Overall, I think the Tiverton election went very well. Believe me. I mean, we had several new poll workers. We had moderators and clerks. And due to the virus, the poll workers were not able to have enough training.
They
That was
weren't
a
able
big
to what?
thing. Huh?
The poll workers were unable to what?
Had enough training.
Had enough training.
Oh,
We didn't go through the training, remember?
They didn't have that hands-on training. They were trained by Zoom. So, I mean, that
Yeah.
did impact things.
It really did,
Yeah.
especially the Amical.
Yeah, and Country View, I know
Yeah.
they were saying that they had, it was all new people, so perhaps if we're in that situation again. To make sure we have at least or two seasoned people at every location.
We actually did do that,
Oh, okay.
but
Yeah,
you needed so many, because remember, we thought we were going to be able to combine polls.
right.
Right,
That's the
and we
big,
weren't, right.
And it was just too many. We couldn't get our old workers to come back and want to do it with COVID. So we did, I would say more than 50% of our workers were new. Didn't you, Christine?
I agree.
At least more, I'd say more than 50%. We'll try to look at that. We're new workers.
Yeah.
And new workers were supposed to be doing their training on Zoom. Well, you put Zoom on. I don't know if you're in their training with, I don't know.
yeah,
But I assume they did. And some of them, when you're doing it on Zoom training, it looked much easier than it
Yeah, it
was when
does.
you have to apply it.
right.
So we tried to get as many in on the in-house voting so we could give them a little more hands-on. But I couldn't, you could only do what you could do.
That could only be Chris.
But all in all, I gotta tell you, I think they did a good job.
Yes,
Oh, yeah.
We double checked everything we did. We tried very hard to make sure everything was accounted for and double counted and all this. So, oh, it's Paul.
Oh.
Sure.
So it was, we did our best.
yeah.
what was the total number of voters?
Total number of voters,
A lot.
more than 6,200, I can tell you, because the judge of probate got 6,246.
Okay,
So we had more than 6,000. We have 13,000, including inactives.
okay.
And he had the highest vote because he's a single race. And he had 6,256.
Hmm. And when did you say the people will be sworn in on the 24th?
No, they're going to be sworn in Monday on the 14th.
Oh, on the 14th.
Yes,
But it's by Zoom?
yes, by Zoom.
So how do we get up? How do we get in on that?
We're going all the way around here than what we're supposed to be doing.
Hmm.
We had number 1, 2, and 3. We went to 2, went to 3, we're back at 1. So we're gonna have to get together here. Because I've got a whole big list here. We wanted everybody to bring a list of what went on and what. So I think we should go around the table.
We're
Okay,
still
so-
on one, right?
Do what?
We're still on one.
Yes.
Yeah, but you jumped down a minute ago to number 2. All that ballot
No,
approval and all this other stuff.
no.
Yeah,
Okay, Bob, you've got your list. Keep
yeah, I've got a
going.
list.
Good.
Keep us on track.
And I got all the members of the Board of Canvass worked hard and did a good job to make sure the election went smoothly. And I'd like to give a special thanks to Christine for getting all the poll workers and being responsible for being at the polling places when they state delivered the voting machines.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Yeah.
Good job, Christine. Thank you.
Yeah. Yes, Christine.
Thank you.
Yeah.
It was a pleasure.
Now, the next one was Nancy will be missed for her knowledge of all that is required for an election. She had been through many elections. And Joan's gonna have a big, feel a big boot here. So I know you've been into some of the elections and you know a little about it, so you're not going in really cold. Now, Deanna, give me your list.
What?
Give me your list. What do you think
List
we
of
should
what?
do? I mean, let's
Elections?
just jumping around. Let's go down.
It's all the general elections, Bobby.
Did you have anything other than the donuts and
Yeah.
coffee though?
No,
Okay.
Okay. Then on the next, number 2 is Vice Chairman Moran, discussion of the effectiveness of the mail-in ballots. What you got?
this is my big thing. How do you think that it worked, Nancy? Have to wait a month for the totals by having these mail-in ballots?
Well,
And what kind of
Tiverton didn't
statistics-
Wait a month.
No.
Didn't we?
But Tiverton is, smaller than
Yeah.
some of the inner cities and stuff. But I think in Rhode Island overall, they did pretty good. They certified their election on what, November 30th. Um,
2 weeks later?
yeah, 2 to 3 weeks
That's
later.
almost 3
I
weeks.
mean, normally it takes about a week and a half. Because you got to remember, there's 39 communities in Rhode Island. They've got to get those provisional ballots up there. They've got to get that all entered into the computer. They've got to, open and count all these mail ballots. So normally that night, we don't have as many mail ballots out there. So people have relied on the totals that we have that night. But we never really certify till after that
Right.
state certifies. And with such mass mailings of mail ballots, it took them longer this year.
That was my point. What's
Yeah,
the point? What is the point of that mass mailing?
the point of the mass mailing is you got a high volume of voters.
Yes.
So if you're gonna try to get the voters and they can't, and they didn't want to go out to a lot of the locations because of COVID and stuff, there was a nervousness, and anxiety. So they did it by mass mailing, but I gotta tell you, I don't think we'd have had 6,000 some odd votes if they didn't. Paul wants to talk.
Yeah.
I don't know. I've sent you guys some information from the Freedom and Prosperity and also from Common Cause. And they're really upset about the effectiveness and the waste of sending out all of these ballots and the opportunity for not controlling it, like not having the, doing away with the signatures and the notary. And I agree. I think it's getting very slipshod.
So can I
Well-
say something?
Yeah, go ahead.
So Deanna, one thing to keep in mind is this was such an extraordinary circumstance. This was not.
I can't hear you, Andrea.
Hold on. This was such an extraordinary circumstance. This is not the norm, nor will it be the norm. This was just because of COVID and this pandemic. I don't think you're going to see this again with such a mass mailing. That being said, I understand what you've read. However, there are so many other news sources from around the spectrum that have said this was the most secure voting election we've had, including all those mail-in ballots. And because everything was gone through the machine and then if requested was hand counted. So those ballots that were sent in or put through the machine were looked at by human beings, the paper itself. So we did have the most secure election. And again, the mass mailing was just because of COVID. You would not have had it had we not had a pandemic.
Well, I wish that was true, but I think we've set a precedent. And secondly, putting the ballots in the machine is secondary to who actually voted the ballot. And when you don't have people, witnesses signing those, I think you open up to all sorts of fraud.
But
And look
but-
how many people of the people that they sent to dead people, they sent to wrong addresses. I think that's why we got so much of the provisionals.
But you do also recognize that those ballots were not counted. Were they sent in? Sure. We even had some that we rejected, and you know that.
Very few.
Anybody that sent in fraudulent ballots, they were caught. There might have been one or two.
I wish I believed that, but I don't think that's true at all. How would you know if the lady at Country View son did her ballot? How would
Because we check signatures. You and I sit here and we check signatures, Dieta.
But the signatures are only valid if someone else has validated them.
Right, we validate them when they come to us if there's a question on it. Everybody's looked at, the town clerk's office looks at it. That's why they were here for so long, going over those write-ins and mail-ins. So there are backup mechanisms to make sure that what you're concerned about doesn't happen. And it's been proven across the country, not even just Rhode Island, that there was no rampant fraud, even with all the mail-in ballots. And that people who were sending them in and were caught are actually being prosecuted as we speak.
We can only hope.
Yeah.
But what I'm saying is that it's the slipshod of the ballot itself, not having the people signatures validated at the time that they're being done. I don't know. It just makes me nervous. And as I think that the state is going to grab on this, think this is a panacea, and she's going to send mail ballots to everybody in Rhode Island the next election.
Okay,
Paul,
Paul?
I think the most important thing is that we open the voting process up to as many people as possible. And I think according to the numbers that you provided, Nancy, that was the case. Granted,
Who's ever talking? I can't hear.
we'll tweak a few things, but I think I'm more
Wait a
concerned
minute,
with not
Deirdre.
disenfranchising people as a result of COVID, placing them at a disadvantage. And I'm more concerned about that than waiting a little bit longer to get the results.
so that was Paul. Yeah, do you want to repeat some of that? Especially the end, I thought it was good, Paul.
I was just saying, Deetta, that, you know, the numbers that Nancy provided clearly indicated that the voter turnout increased tremendously. And I think that's the most important thing. Granted, we may need to look at the process and tighten it up a bit and tweak a few things, but I'd rather have people voting in larger numbers and not disenfranchising people, and not be as concerned about the results taking a little bit longer to get.
I'm interested in what everybody else thinks about it.
You got any comments on it, Bob?
Yes. Well, you know, I noticed on one thing, when you got the mail-in ballots, we've got a camera out there, shows everybody's putting it in the box. A lot of states don't even have that. That's where a lot of trouble is coming from.
Is anybody else going to go to these webinars from Common Cause or Freedom and Prosperity?
I've not got time for it.
Not from those groups, I'm not.
Well,
I won't be.
Just and I are going to go together. No,
I
that
won't
was
be
just a joke.
attending them, but I will say this, it's a change, and change comes with a bit of anxiety. It did for me at first when I started seeing them come in without the witnesses, but you know, I adapted to
Yeah.
it because I thought the process incomplete was good and secured, and we do the best we can to get it through the best we can. I understand what you're saying though, Dieta. And I'm not one great person for change either. But I will say there are states out there that only do mail balloting.
Yeah.
Colorado,
Colorado, my daughter lives there.
Yeah.
and they have a great system and it works well.
So I don't think they've invented the wheel here.
Well, I think if someone requests a mail ballots, that's whole different than us mass mailing everybody that's a registered. I think,
But Dieta, you got to remember, I know we weren't getting mass calls, but we were
Yeah.
getting a lot of calls. Before they decided to send out the mass mailing, I don't know how many it was, but I can tell you, and Christine can vouch for it, we were getting a tremendous amount of requests
well,
for
that's
mail
good. That's the way,
ballots because
that's
people
the way
were
it
calling
should.
saying they were nervous. They did not want to go to the poll.
I can understand that.
And
But
if I'm correct, we didn't get the actual ballot. They got an application to receive one. So
Right.
it was up to the individuals if they wanted to accept, like I didn't accept one. I knew I was coming to vote in person. So it was an application to get one. It wasn't the actual ballot that was sent to you. The only time we got that was the presidential preference primary.
Right.
So the actual election was not the actual ballot. It was the application to receive one if you wanted. So there's a big difference between that and getting the actual ballot. Rhode Island did not do the actual ballot. They did the application for one.
Yeah. Like I said, there's a lot of ways. I just think that it's getting to be so loose that we're losing control of the voters. But that's just me. I tend to be a little bit rigid when it comes to these
Well, it's a
things.
good topic to bring
Yeah.
forward, Dieta. It's a good topic to bring forward.
I think a lot of Board of Canvassers are having that discussion.
Well, I think that these webinars should be very interesting with these two groups, Common Cause League.
Well, you're going to attend them, aren't you? So you can
I'll
inform,
get back to you, right, exactly.
yeah, you can inform the board. So,
One more issue. How much did it increase the cost of the election? Of
that
those
was on
national,
the state. I can't tell you. I don't know.
would imagine
That's the
quite
state
large.
that sent them out. It's the state that paid for the couriers to come around and pick them up. That all has to do with the state. Did it cost the town anymore?
No,
No, we saved money.
no, if it costs the state, it gets back to us. Because look at all those National Guard people they brought in for weeks at a.
Yeah, I don't know what the state's cost was.
I have nothing else.
Well, we have the minutes, right?
Yeah, the minutes for the December the 1st, 2020.
They looked okay to me.
It looks okay to me. I'm just trying to remember if I was here. I think I called in. Thank you.
You were
Joan-
here.
Joan's saying yes, so thank you, Joan. Glad somebody remembers.
Joan, do you have any comments to
Not this time, huh?
this? No, but they're good topics to
Yeah.
keep in mind and. So you're gonna need a motion on those.
Is that better?
Is there any motion for that though yet? You need a motion.
Yeah, I know we do, but I was just gonna say.
Oh, okay. No motion, okay.
Okay, we have a motion on Approval of the minutes for December the 1st, 2020.
I'll second.
Did we have a motion?
Bobby just made it.
You want to make the motion there, Deanne?
No, huh?
Okay.
I just didn't, I thought maybe Paul would like to. I hate to see my name being the only one on the minutes all the time.
Okay. That's what I was going to ask anyway.
Paul was absent,
Yeah.
Theater.
You have to make the, I'll make, if you don't want to make it, I'll make it.
Okay, I make a motion that we, the minutes, December the,
I'll second the motion for the December 1st minute.
All those in favor?
Does somebody have a pen?
Yeah,
Oh,
Mine's
wait.
red. Send that
I
down
already
to him.
signed it.
you did.
That's pretty awesome.
When'd you do that?
Oh, she came in to
Oh.
sign the last time and this was ready.
I was like, wait, I already signed
Oh,
it.
Paul, that's right.
Oh.
The
So
other
the
have to come in.
vote was gonna be what, 3-0-1. Paul
Yeah.
abstains
Abstain.
because he was absent.
Okay, we'll go out again.
So this is gonna be my last Board of Canvas
Yes.
meeting, but Joan will be able to handle it fine. She'll have a whole year before she has to worry about, well, 2 years before she has to worry about an election. So,
is Joan there with you today?
yes, Joan's here, yes.
Joan, do you have any questions about what we do or why we do it?
No, I'm all set.
Thank you, Nancy, for your leadership.
Leadership, I'm the clerk.
You were our leader. You
I'm
were
the
our
fellow
leader.
the leader.
You set the example.
Actually, I just want to also say thank you to everyone in your office that stayed and came in to do all that writing counting. That was an awful lot. And I know you guys gave up like weekend time and everything else. So
Yeah.
I just personally want to say thank you for doing that. That was huge on your part too.
I will say the staff in there
Here,
rallied up to the work that had to be done.
Top
bad.
notch staff.
Nancy, why did they change that to have to write down every ridiculous write-in?
'Cause there was
I don't know, but we have the spreadsheets. We did them. She proved them. In fact, some of the proof won't exactly match because the state didn't send us every single write-in for every single race. They sent the ones we requested, like the budget committee. They sent the state one, but they don't send everything. So, but yeah.
We ought
and-
to set that as a, we ought to set
Work
the
on that.
recommendation to the state. And we think they ought to go back to that. If you've got Mickey Mouse or Elizabeth Taylor,
We
shouldn't have to.
actually did group some, Dieta, where you see blank, it might have been, because it was like anybody but John or anybody but Sally. And we didn't list them like that, we put them together. I thought in years past, they said you don't have to list anymore if it's a dime.
Right.
Yeah,
But now, I don't know, they didn't, they sent the sheets,
Yeah.
all our write-ins, we send the copy up to the state, so they have a copy of the spreadsheet that we have on it.
Crazy.
Every write-in listed, so they have it as well.
I wonder if they were just being extra cautious with this election, so they were just making sure that the numbers matched even if they were.
Maybe, it is true, it was so unique, I mean,
This was a unique election that I'm not sure we'll see the likes of again.
I hope not.
I know.
it looks like it might not be over yet.
I hope not.
Whatever happened to that training?
So, and request them.
Whatever happened to that training for us to figure out how to sign the
Signatures?
signatures?
On the signatures,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if it ever happened and we missed it, or if it didn't happen.
I don't think it happened. I thought we just had to review.
I
and
will
try to
say this,
find
if
it out.
this, I think if there is a problem
Yeah,
for the next time election comes, I think the state will have a much better lead time into it and know what kind of worked and what kind of didn't work. I'm sure the state, Secretary of State's and the Board of Election is going through the same process. What do we do? And, you know, this,
Yeah.
that, and the other, and what was done good and what could use improvement. And we can use improvement in our stuff. And, but you kind of work on what you think you're doing the best on and try to go with that. I think one of the things that the board could focus on, I don't know when they're getting back with the census, but
Yeah,
you know, that whole thing was put on hold but I think another thing that the board could focus on is we really need more polling locations certified.
Mm.
Like the library could now get certified for it because the town owns that. And, you know, the schools, we use what schools we have. There's not always great parking in it.
no,
We may have to go back. Remember one year we used the middle school? We had to fix the curbing.
Uh-huh.
You know, something like that we might have to do because it was a little nerve wracking when some of these, like Country View and all, I mean, they're shut down with COVID. They're an older population. To truck on in with an election, they, at the beginning, were not so receptible to us.
And Sandy Woods does not have the best parking.
Sandy Woods, but it's such a small,
I know, but it's still like, that could be a parking.
I'll tell you, if I were on the Board of Canvas, when it comes to the census time and the state starts divvying up territories, I would be much more aggressive in trying to get that little district of 3305
yes,
eliminated and put in, merge it, break it up and put it into the other districts. That is really a waste to go through setting up
it is.
a poll location there. We had to utilize our poll workers,
Yep.
the expense of it. I just think that's.
And
some-
who was that? Was that De Palma that was so adamant about that?
No, this was done before De Palma, I think. Because remember, it's every 10 years, so it was done 10 years ago.
Well, it was when I was involved. Wasn't
Yeah, but
it?
it's supposed to have been about 10 years ago.
Oh my God.
A census only happens every 10 years.
Oh my.
This one's probably 11 years. I don't know. It's
Time
probably
goes
11
fast when
years.
you're enjoying yourself.
But they were working on it and then it kind of took a back seat, but that's something you should keep on the front burner. Because we should be writing the legislators and get the town council behind it to try to correct that little district that has 600
Right.
voters with, what do we get for turnout? 200?
Oh, they'll trade it off for something else.
Well, they can,
We went through that the last time he done it.
yeah, that's, oh, well,
One side of Booger Marsh is one district, the other side is another district.
Right.
That's right down the road.
but at least those are districts. That one
Yeah.
little group has a separate district for rep and senate than any of the others.
Yeah,
Now, it's bad enough the last time they divided right up the middle and
Yeah.
said, let's give you a new District 4, 3304, with a new senator. Like a little town like Tiverton needs 3 senators. So, I mean, those are things that you might want to consider lobbying for. If you get the council on your side, you might help promote that.
It's good to think about.
Mhm. Other than that, I think the board's got a good makeup here and we do what we can do and you do the best you
Yeah.
can and that's what counts. You've got expertise in different things. Deetta's interests are a little different than Bobby's, which are a little different than Paul's and a little different than Andrea. And I think the different makeup is what's making you successful there. So,
Is there some kind of a rule, someone doesn't attend for so many meetings that they have to be replaced?
Yes, there is. So that's up to the chair, and you might want to discuss that. I haven't had personal contact with Chris. He's an alternate.
Right.
So I don't know if alternates have to be appointed every year. I don't know. We just
I
do
don't
them.
know.
But I'll try to check into it, or Joan will check into it.
Yeah, you gotta start. saying I
You
will.
know, he is a Republican, so you Republicans should reach out to him and see if he still has the interest in here. I know he goes to school. Doesn't he go to college?
I think so.
Between
But he had
college,
time to run for Senate.
more than
He
he,
had time to run for Senate. He had time for the Board of Canvassers, I would think.
I don't know.
That's-
I haven't spoken to him personally.
Mhm.
I mean, I speak to him, but I haven't seen him lately.
Well, I think that we know that when we're short of people, it makes it really hard on the rest of us when we do have elections and when we have meeting things, it's a big burden of ones of us that are normally here.
Well, right now, he was running for state rep, and you cannot sit on a board of canvas and make decisions sitting here on a
But
board.
that's my point. If he has time to do that, why wouldn't he have time to be at the Board of Canvassers now? Because that's over, old news.
Okay.
We'll send a letter out to
Got
him.
it. Yeah.
Christine, will
He
you jot that
he
down?
works at night a lot.
I was gonna
in
say,
all
that's
those
probably,
stores.
Yes.
Bobby, that's probably definitely something you and Deanna as Republicans should probably discuss.
Huh?
I said, I think since you and Deanna are Republicans and he's the Republican alternate, that's definitely something the two of you need to discuss and go over.
Well, we can send him out a letter stating that, participation is necessary and because that was a lot to go through, but he couldn't have helped us through those elections because he
No.
was running. Well,
Yeah.
he wasn't running for president, so he,
I told the committee at the town Republican Town Committee, I said, we need one person or an alternate. So nobody held up a hand. He says, I want it. So you know what? They all laughed and said, we'll give him to you, Bob. That's the way it is.
Yeah.
So.
all
what am I
right.
gonna do?
So if, are we all set there?
Yes, we are.
Tom? Andrea, you signed it too? Yeah. Deanna, if you have to come by, we'll have you sign the minutes. If not, don't
Oh,
worry
sure.
about it because Andrea and Bobby signed.
No problem.
Okay.
I have PT tomorrow, so I'll come by after that,
Okay.
if I have the strength.
Okay.
Okay.
Make a motion that we adjourn the meeting.
Someone needs
Get out of
to make a
here.
motion to adjourn.
Okay,
Second.
all those in favor?
Thank
Okay.
you.
Good
Thank
night,
you,
everyone. Thanks.
Andrew, and